Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Dr. Karp, that's our law doctor. Good morning, Joe Karp.
Good morning, Anita. How are you today?
Do you always feel like you're a doctor of law? You are,
no,
you know.
I feel, I feel like a counselor at law.
Okay.
Because we're in the counseling business. So I guess shrinks and psychologists are also doctors, and I know I have a juris doctor in law, but I feel more like a counselor than a doctor. So if you come to see me, everyone, keep your shirt on. We'll just talk. But I will open your heads and your hearts.
I love it. So I have a question.
I will open your heads and hearts.
Yes, you always
in a non-surgical but very invasive fashion to find out who you are and who your family is.
I know you do that. So I have a question. What is Medicaid Asset Protection Trust? What is that?
Okay, people don't understand that, and that's a good question. First of all, many of our listeners and most of my clients and a lot of South Floridians have revocable living trusts. Those trusts do nothing for asset protection, for Medicaid protection. Those are very good tools for probate avoidance, guardianship avoidance. It used to be more necessary when the tax exemption was lower for tax protection. But if you got sick and went to a nursing home, my line that I use at my workshops is, those trusts are business as usual, which means pay the nursing home. A Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, you put assets into that trust. It's structured in a way that you're not in charge of the trust. You, being either you as an individual or a married couple, get the income for life. After 5 years, the principal is protected and deemed unavailable for Medicaid purposes, so those monies are protected. Now, people will say, I'm scared to give up control of my money. And the answer is, I get it. But giving up control doesn't mean you're not in charge and you don't have rights. And that's a very important thing. The analogy I would use is to my own law practice. I'm not in control of cleaning the toilets, fixing the photocopy machine, making appointments, supervising the personnel. I'm in charge, and people are accountable to me to make sure that the right people are in control and doing the work. So they do what I want, and if they don't do what I want, then there will be repercussions. Hopefully those repercussions just require tweaking rather than the hammer falling on them. With this trust, it's very similar. You create the trust, and normally people put their children in charge, one or more child, and under the terms of the trust, here are the keys. One, you get the income for life, so it's not your children's income, it's taxed at your level. And remember, many of my clients are always concerned, but I need my money. I need my income. So instead of giving it to the kids, they're still getting the income, not the kids. Two, if the kids get sued, divorced, or whatever, the money is still protected. But meanwhile, if you get sued, that money is protected too because you did it before you were sued. Now, as to the principal, you have the right to direct that gifts are made out of the principal, and or you can authorize your trustee to make gifts out of the principal to anyone but you. Now, here's the trick. Suppose you put in money and then decide you need some of the principal, and you say to your daughter, who's the trustee, I need $30,000 out of the principal. Give yourself and your sister $15,000 gifts. And once the gifts are given to the daughter and the sister, or the two daughters, they can do whatever they want with the money, including make a gift for mom or dad, buy them the new car, pay for the cruise, whatever. And you say, well, yeah, suppose they don't. Then I have no recourse, right? No, you have recourse. Your recourse is under the terms of the trust, although it's irrevocable, doesn't mean, and non-amendable, doesn't mean you can't do things. Because remember, if something says you can do something in it, you're not amending it, you're following the rules. So it has two rules that are very important besides the ability to have gifting done, even though it's not to you. One, you can fire the trustee and change the trustee. Now, that's not changing the trust because the trust says you can do that. So if you can do that, you're not changing it, you're just following the terms. The other thing you do is you leave yourself the right to change the beneficiaries. So if your daughter says, oh, Mom, sure, I'll give you the 15, and the other daughter says, well, I don't think you should go on that trip, and I need the 15, I'm keeping it, you can cut her out. So it buys obedience. We normally recommend that people limit whom they can make beneficiaries. We normally suggest that the change of beneficiaries stays within the family so that there's no elder abuse, because as we all know, we read about it enough on occasion that the 97-year-old man got manipulated by the housekeeper and he gave her money. So we don't want him to be, you don't want to be able to do that if you get old, infirm, and incompetent, of questionable competency or easily influenced. You don't want to be able to do that. You want to keep it in the family. But after 5 years, these assets are exempt from Medicaid. And you say, so it gives you great protection for the money. So I had a lady who actually called me up yesterday because she had done this, and there's work involved because you have to change assets and do stuff. And she said, did I do the right thing? I mean, she already did it. She paid it, and she had a question. I'll just tell your story because it's very interesting. She's in her early 80s, and her husband's in his mid-80s and not well, and they have $1.8 million. And this is what they did. They didn't put all of the money in. We had to talk about it. I mean, they talked about it, and they understand long-term disability is a reality. I've gone through it in my family. My mother had a stroke and was incapacitated for 13 and a half years. My mother-in-law ended up in a nursing home for 3 years. My grandmother had a stroke and was incapacitated for 7.5 years. And right now, the average cost of a nursing home in this county is over $100,000 a year. Okay, for a semi-private room. So if you have a lot of money, it can dissipate real quickly if you have some long-term care issues. So we sat down at the time, and they said, you know what? We didn't buy long-term insurance. The premiums are too high, and we've got some health issues that would make it either prohibitive in cost or impossible to get. And they took $1 million and put it in this irrevocable trust. They said, we want to be able to leave the kids at least $1 million if we get sick. And they're getting all of the income off the $1 million, and they still have $800,000, quote, to play with. So they're not even going to think to ask the kids to ever invade the principal, and they just have peace of mind now that they've protected that money for their kids. But they know it's always there in reserve if they need it, and they have good kids, and it's properly managed. But I have clients who do it with $500,000, $700,000, and they protect a bunch of money, and they leave some in their own pocket so they know what they're putting at risk, so they're not calling the kids every time they need an extra dollar above the income. So they leave themselves a cushion, and it's a great piece of safety net. And the trust can make gifts, and here's the other beauty of the gifts. You've heard that there's 5-year look-backs for gifts. Gifts that come from the trust have no look-back because they're already deemed a gift when it goes to the trust. So as I explained to this lady yesterday, when your 11-year-old granddaughter gets married, if you're worried about Medicaid, if you've brought your money down, you can say, remember I said that you can tell the trustee to make gifts? You can have your trustee give your granddaughter a wedding gift out of the trust. And it says, daughter as trustee of grandma's trust, so grandma's name is right on the check, the full amount. And that doesn't count as part of the Medicaid look-back because that took place when the money was transferred to the trust. So for many people, it gives a comfort zone. And even in Florida, where our homestead is exempt from for Medicaid purposes, many of my clients are even putting their homestead in the trust, not because they need it for Florida Medicaid, but they need it for New Jersey Medicaid if they move back to be near their daughter, or they need it for New York Medicaid if they move back to be near them, or other states, because your Florida property wouldn't be safe in those states. So it's a very good tool to protect money, but not lose the ability to be in charge of it and not have a sense that it's kiss it goodbye, I'll never have the money again.
You know, Joe, I'm going to jump in here because everything you say is, it is like a doctor sitting there discussing everything. And the thing that's important is that people have to realize, excuse me, they can't do this on their own. They absolutely have to go, and not just to anyone. They have to go to someone who's as experienced as Joe Karp is. And I think you're realizing that. I want to give you his phone number, before I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get in touch with them. You can call their main office. It's toll free. It's 800-893-9911. That's 800-893-9911. And you can go to their website, which is one of the best legal websites you're ever going to see. It has so much in it. It's karplaw.com. It's KARPLAW.com. Karplaw.com. And, it's interesting that Joe does have a blog, and it's called karplaw.blogspot.com. It's very interesting. I've gone to that, and it's a lot of work that's gone into that. But what I also want to do, of course, is talk about the seminars, because what you're hearing from Joe now, we're just covering one topic. But when you go and you attend one of his seminars, you're going to hear a lot of topics. So let me tell you about this one coming up in October. Tuesday, October the 6th, 1:30 to 4, up in Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn. So for those of you who are listening to the show and you want to go up a little further north, you can get there. Tuesday, October 6th, 1:30 to 4. Wednesday, October 7th, from 1:30 to 4, is over there at the Courtyard by Marriott in Boynton Beach. And Thursday, October 8th, from 1:30 to 4, Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. I do suggest, if you've not been, please do go. You will never forget it. And if you have been, go again, because there are always things in there you need to know about. Well, that's why, Joe, I really wanted to do that, because I know that this is a subject that people talk about, but they are really confused and mixed up. They have no idea what everything you're saying has to be done by a professional like you.
Thank you. And the other thing I can tell you, although that lady was upset and just a little overwhelmed by it and wanted some reassurance, she said, but what if my husband gets sick in 2 years? And I said, well, number one, if you've done nothing, then in 2 years you would have to pay the nursing home. Now, if he gets sick and ends up needing a nursing home, even if she had not stashed away that cash, 2 of the 5 years are running, so it'll be done. And I said, and you have sufficient funds because they were blessed with more money. And it's an interesting concept. It's, why should a millionaire do this? Because at $100,000 a year, that goes really fast, and monies dissipate quickly. And I said, you can then know that if you get sick 5 years from now, it'll be protected. And by the way, one of the other interesting things, because I just had a client who went into a nursing home having utilized a trust like this and waited for 5 years, what the family was doing is they had the authorization to make gifts out of the trust. And they were. And you know what they were doing with the money? While Mom was on Medicaid, they were using the money in the trust, gifting it to themselves, and paying for private duty attendants to come 4 hours every day to be with Mom, so that Mom got some special and unique attention to help diffuse the institutional environment. So she got special attention because the kids couldn't be there, and it just worked. So the money was protected, not just to leave it for the kids, but to enhance the quality of her care. So it really is very effective.
Fabulous, Joe.
And knowing not only how to do these, but knowing the purpose. As you heard, my purpose was to make it there for the parents, not just to leave kid money for the kids. And B, how the success rate of getting Medicaid. That's one of the questions I'm asked sometimes. They say, well, will this trust work with Medicaid? And I can say, mine have, mine do. I've done it. And that gives a great level of comfort as well.
Yeah, it does. And, of course, you've been doing this for so long. I know that here in South Florida, have you been practicing elder law over 20 years?
Yes, I have. I've been practicing elder law for over 20 years. I've been board certified in elder law by the state by the state bar since its inception on June of 1998. And even for that, you had to have 5 years experience in elder law in order to get certified. So I've been doing it over 20 years. I have another board certified elder law attorney in my firm, Jenny Bernstein. We have 4 other attorneys, but some of them do some elder law and have made a decision not to take the certification exam because it takes away too much time for studying, takes away too much from their family time. And 2 of them really don't do elder law. They just do traditional estate planning issues and more sophisticated estate planning issues, although all of us do estate planning and postmortem administration work when people need help.
Well, it's just great to have you here, and I know that I listen to the radio now, and a lot more attorneys are getting into estate planning than when you first started. But the most important thing is you want to go to someone who's very experienced and has great credentials. Joe would give you so many recommendations for you to call. You can call me, but Joe Karp really has put his whole life into this. I know that you.
Yeah, if I could say something, I said in my workshops 20 years ago, I said, in 15 years, every lawyer who writes a will swear they're an elder law attorney. I said, right now, as far as I'm concerned, the attorneys who are doing traditional estate planning are not committing true legal malpractice, but they really are not giving the clients the benefit of good advice. I said, here's what's going to happen down the road. Everybody's going to live longer, and they're going to have to address these issues. And all they were doing was talking about what happens when you die, what happens when you die, what happens when you die. I said, when you die, really, even though I'm a strong advocate of trust and probate avoidance, when you die, it doesn't matter to you if it takes a little longer and costs a little more money. It's when you're alive that things have to get handled well, that your assets are anticipated, that you're not going crazy, what's going to happen to me and my family financially, and what's going to happen to my wife or my husband. I want to make one other comment as an advisory, and it's just an interesting sidelight. And this is not a negative. This is a positive. I don't know if you told your listening audience, but inadvertently, the typesetters of your Boomer Times put the wrong headline on top of my column this month.
Right, I was going to tell them.
But I want to tell you why that's such an important thing to discuss with them. Because I have been with your paper 15, 17 years. You are a fanatic about getting everything done right. You get it done right, you get it done right, you get it done right. Yet, every once in a while, if you do enough stuff, things get missed. One of the things, there's two things I want your listeners to know about my office. One, every legal document that goes out of our office has two lawyers who review it. That's step one. And two, every 3 years we bring our clients back in for a review, and then we go over the documents again to make sure it says and does what you think it does, so that, and still does what you need it to do. So that's number one. We build in our own double check system. Number two, for seminar attendees, they're given an opportunity for a free consultation with us if we think we can help them. Well, how many of your listeners have trust that they think are fine? They went over it with the lawyer once. It seemed to read right. Everything looked right. Everything looked right on your galley sheets. But the time for, so after it's been printed and after it's been signed, you don't go back to have a review. Now, you can't do it once it's printed, but we offer that opportunity. So even when people are perfect, and Anita, you are as close to perfect as there can be.
You're so nice. Thank you.
Sometimes somebody slips up something, and it's got to happen no matter who you are. I am sure Dr. DeBakey once made a mistake during heart surgery.
Right. Right. He left
Okay.
He left
So
one of his tools in there.
Or just missed a little stitch or did something. So for anybody, to me, with half a brain who says, you know what? How the hell do I know that my documents are perfect? I'm not a lawyer. And even if I am a lawyer, the person listening, I'd like a second set of eyes to review it. And they'll review it at no charge. No brainer. I'm going to the workshop. I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to get my documents reviewed for free. The best that'll happen is they'll walk out and they'll say they're perfect, they do what you want them to do, and they're totally kosher and clean. The second best that'll happen is they'll say, here's a problem, you got to fix it before you die or get incapacitated. So either way, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend that people come to our workshops, get educated on stuff they haven't been educated on, and hear elder law from people who've been doing it for 20 years, not people who've been doing it for 20 days.
No, you're absolutely right, Joe, and I can attest to that. Everyone who has ever gone to Joe, I never hear complaints about anything. They, once they give it up to him and let him really help them, they are very satisfied. So we certainly want to appreciate you too. You've been in business here a long time. You've been doing seminars. My goodness, you and now your staff have been doing seminars for years, every single
Over 20
month.
years.
Every
Over
single
2 years.
month.
We cut out every single month. We're not doing September this year.
Okay.
But we wish everybody a Lashana Tova for September, and we'll start up again in October. But we used to do them all the time. Heck, I used to do them every 3 weeks. I would do 7 every 3 weeks. But
amazing.
Fortunate, and that was when I was alone, and now with 6 attorneys, fortunately we have our clients keep coming back, and they want reviews, and they want to make changes. They want to. I have a client who's 85 years old who decided to do an irrevocable trust that they wouldn't consider at 70.
Well,
They want to do a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust because they realized they figured they'd be dead by now, and now all of a sudden they're saying, I'm still not dead. I better do something for my old age.
Got to say goodbye, Joe. I really appreciate your being with us, and do have a very happy holiday, and I'll talk to you another time, and thank you very much for being so understanding.
Oh, no problem.
Okay.
I got to tell you, if the whole world was as perfect as
Oh,
you,
yeah, right.
even Babe Ruth didn't hit 1,000.
Okay.
You're my Babe Ruth.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.